think it's time I get a TV show now. Because I really like these lives. I really do. Okay. Boom. Hey, Yaya. She's going to hop back on real quick. We ran out of time. I think it's time I get a TV show. So we could be on here longer. Okay. Some watermelon sauce.
It's so funny because I keep telling people that it's like the minute you go to where you're about to really hit this stuff, like the powers that be that don't want us to connect and don't want us to live in oneness will find a way to shut it down.
Yeah. So you got to keep pushing. Keep it. I was like, okay, well then let's start.
Right?
I am very rebellious. Let's do it.
So part 2, as a recap, we've talked about the fact that the clitoris is the fountain of youth. And I do say that because when it is properly cared for, we stay young and we stay at our best as women. Yeah. The vaginal opening is the pearly gates, which is the gateway to heaven. And that is where your partner finds entrance to heaven, and through his motion is granted wishes on the lantern, or the lamp, like the genie's lamp.
Okay.
Right. So within us, we have, when you go into heaven, you get your wishes granted.
Okay.
And so that is that action, that expression, that where you both come to this place, you are now in a space of creation. Right.
Okay.
So it's very powerful. It's very, very powerful. And when we go in with the right intentions, knowing that that was weird. Knowing that we have the power because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And to recap on that it's like these experiences that we're all having as children, where we have a process that we're using that is a child's process, grabs onto us and holds us in this belief system if we never understand what is taking place. Right. So before I get into where I was going, I want to just mention this, that there are 3 voices. There is the voice of the past, which is ego. Yeah. And it constantly is bringing things up like, well, if they knew about this, or you can't do that, you've never been able to do that. Remember when this happened and how you felt about that? Or something happens where somebody does something and you feel some kind of way, but you're really not feeling any kind of way. Right, you're not feeling any way about right this moment. You've tapped into all these things back here.
You felt that way.
That you felt that way, and it's like, and you've identified it or connected it with that. You've made that connection. And so now in this moment is now not only dealing with the right now, but it has to deal with your 15 years of nonsense.
Yeah.
That it has nothing to do with. And it's like, because you're not fresh in that situation.
Yeah.
So you have the voice of the past, and now I call it the ego voice, because the ego is trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't want to die. Like your past doesn't want to die, it wants to stay relevant. Yeah. So what happens then is that you come into the social or the spiritual awareness like, man, my daddy loved me.
Right.
He wasn't being mean to me. He was doing the best he can. And that was like me as a 6-year-old, the belief system that I'm not enough. This is a 6-year-old's way of handling it, of like shutting down. Okay, I don't need to act like this anymore. Now I get into that awareness, and now something comes in proximity to me, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is exciting. Now I get the voice of distraction. And the voice of distraction will be like, oh my gosh, if you don't do this, you might lose out. You need to go. You need to go. It's like this urgent, pulsing need that it's like, well, I don't know if you don't take this job, or if you don't do this, if you don't do these things, you could lose out. A lot of things could happen, and it could be really devastating for you. Like there's this underlining urgency and fear and craziness that comes with the voice of distraction.
Yeah.
Because the minute you go that direction and something falls apart, then the voice of the past comes back up and I was like, see, I told you. You don't want to listen to me. Okay. That's what you get. As I throw my lip balm trying to look cool.
That was good. Because then once you get in that mindset, then you start to go into like guilt and shame and doubt.
And the past comes back in.
Yeah.
And is
it's just like a cycle.
Reincarnated. Right.
It's just like
it comes back to life. It comes back to life. So the voice of distraction is really there to make sure, it's like the ego's last defense.
Yeah.
To like, nah, I gotta hold on to you. And then you have this wonderful voice called the higher voice that is like, listen, I need you to just chill out. You're fine. It's okay. And it's always calm. Now, the thing is you might not like what it says. Like, you already know that this is not that direction you need to be going in. What are you doing? Like, you know that this person is not right. You know this opportunity is not right. Stay the course. Stop trying. Stop. Where is your faith?
Yes.
Where is your meaning?
And that's what when I talk to other people, I'm like, once you start to build this relationship with yourself, it becomes so strong, or your higher power, like whoever you connect with, it becomes so strong to the point when those type of things start coming up, you're going to be so sure with the decision that you make, whether you're going to stay or go. And it's going to be so sure and certain that you won't even have space for guilt and shame and all of that, because you knew, like you followed exactly what you were called to do at that time.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the thing, like there is such a beauty in the voice, the higher voice, because it's like when it knows you're getting off the path, it'll send you calm, peaceful, loving, like, listen,
And the angel numbers start popping up. You're like, I knew.
Right. and it's that intuition, right? It's that space where it's like, oh, yeah, I did know, didn't I? I shouldn't have done that. But at the same time, when you go through those experiences, there is still lessons there. There's still things that are beautiful and wonderful. And it's not to beat yourself up. It's to wake you up.
Yeah.
There's never a loss. There's only a lesson.
Yes.
There's only a loss if you miss a lesson.
Right.
If you missed a lesson, then you lost. And I tell people all the time, like, I'm not worried about any of this because there's no such thing as lack. So I can't lose anything that's not mine. Right. And if it's not you, if it's not this, then whatever is coming is so much better. And I'm just being prepared. And it's like, thank you for getting out of the way.
Yes. And you got it. Like you said, it's so faith driven that you just have to know that. Like, okay, right. That definitely had ended because I have somewhere else where I need to be that's going to be so much more fulfilling than what that was. Because like you're saying, like, just knowing that we deserve more, or, you know what I'm saying? Like some stuff I like to say now, I would say, like when I'm having conversations about situations or people that I was in with, I'm starting to say more instead of explaining what happened. Our time ran out. The time just ran out.
Right.
New time ahead,
Right.
It's like,
and it doesn't mean like if something ends or somebody disappears or something that you're not going to feel something sad. That doesn't mean that. It means like you're still going to feel things. It's the understanding that you have to process through it so you don't get stuck in this space where you're like, I'm losing myself in this.
Right.
Because it's the walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Right? Not not camp out, not
Right.
chill
You
out,
walk through it. Don't
not
camp
build a
in it.
home,
Right.
not raise kids. It's a walkthrough because we are in we're surrounded by death. We're surrounded by the stuff that is nonsense because that's the human experience.
Right.
And if you don't wake the spirit and you don't come to the space where you recognize your spirit, you're going to be dead because that's what the dead are.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's really important to understand how beautiful the clitoris is.
Yeah.
How beautiful the link to the body that the pearly gates, which is the vaginal canal, right? It's important to understand like what the genie within you can do. Like you are a powerful goddess. It's not like, oh, I'm just having sex. Like think about this. I go to Jeffrey Epstein and it's some craziness, right? Number one, they have not, in all of the stuff that they've shown about that man, they have not one shown a person of color. And if people think that people of color, women of color, and girls of color are not a part of this in a non-luxury way,
Mm-hmm.
because they're just not somebody you can have on the arm. So they're kept in a kennel type situation versus being kept in a luxury situation.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because God forbid, like a drone flies over the house and you see somebody sitting up rubbing on this little black girl.
Right.
That can't be seen. But it's okay to be seen rubbing on a little blonde chick or a little white girl. Not that it's okay, but it's okay. Right?
Right. I get
Because,
what you mean by that.
you know,
It's like, yeah.
We have to be very vigilant about what is being presented to us and how we're being seen.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to ask yourself, why are these individuals tapping into these little girls?
Yeah.
The little girl doesn't need to know
Yeah.
how she's being utilized, to be utilized as this resource. Because like I said, we're being feasted on. So you can feast. Somebody knowing how to use the power of a female can manipulate and utilize our power without us even having a clue that it's happening.
Wizards. That's what I call them.
Absolutely.
Wizards. They know how to create off of us.
And once they're in you, here's the thing. They can come and visit you at any point in time.
Yep.
Because the minute you close their eyes, they have access to you. Yep. You've granted them access into your heaven, into your space. Now, a man that comes into that space properly, like if imagine you had a fabulous orgasm through the clitoris. He's taken the time to take care of that. He has come through the pearly gates. That feels amazing. And you have granted wishes and everything is just amazing. Are we as women not willing to do everything and anything for this man?
Right. True.
Why?
Right.
Because they are the universe now to us.
Right. We gave our power away, really.
But the thing is that we are the universe. And in the mirroring, they are the universe. So now we're in this space where it's like we're in the universe. So if you're in the universe with somebody and you're imbalanced, now you're in what universe? What dimension are you in? What experience are you going to be growing? I mean, this is the craziest thing ever. Right? That it's like we're here without the knowledge of where we are. So that's what she said, I have had a heavy spiritual cleansing for this movement. I was having night terrors of men and women chasing me. Yeah, I mean, those that know, like, can come and tap in. You have to be visual. It's one of those things, like, you have to be visual. I have somebody in my life that I've allowed in, and little does he know that I sit up and I put stuff on him all the time. But I put stuff on him.
I got one like
I put
that.
stuff on him right. But it's like when the moon comes out, like I'm able to breathe his world open, and I'm able to grant him blessings and gifts. And that's so lucky he is that that's what I grant, right? Because there are women and men out there that know this and open up these portals, open up these spaces, and are able to manipulate and whatnot. And we're like, what is going on? Oh, it's because of the fact that you don't have control and mastery over your sexual transmutation.
Yeah.
And you don't
That evil eye
understand
on
what
you.
this is. So where we left off on the other video
The revolution
is
thing?
the whole aspect of menstruation.
Okay.
And it's a very powerful, our fluids are powerful. The man's semen is actually coming through his spinal cord. And so when and I have friends that do not ejaculate on purpose because they refuse to release any of their spinal fluid in somebody unless they're doing it intentionally.
Okay.
And because of the fact that when the man does that, he releases so much energy that it can deplete him. So they do it on purpose to keep their power within them.
Okay.
And to make sure that they're still able to, like, we don't lose anything. And to be perfectly honest, you can't completely 100% keep it out because it's like the natural happens at the beginning. So we get some, but their release of power of themselves, they keep it in. And when it's understood between the couple that it's like that's what's happening, that can be even that's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
But the fluids that we have, the book that I had mentioned, Pussy, was talking about how cortisones used to take, like, they would just take vaginal juice and dip it on their necks. Like, and I a little TMI, I don't wear underwear unless I have to, because the power that it radiates from us is very, very good to get the things that we want done.
True.
It's very, very
Trust me, if I
powerful.
got a sundress on, I probably don't have any on. As long as it's free flowing underneath me, I'm probably not wearing anything myself.
Right. Well, even like when I work, well, it depends on where I work out, what I'm doing. Like, if I feel like I need to protect myself, I will.
Okay.
But if I'm doing something for the purpose of like empowerment or gain or creation, you will not see it. But they are talking about how these women sit up and they dab it on their neck and then they go into their day like, hey, and like everything happens because the fluids that we contain are elixirs.
Wow.
Right now, I'm like I said, I'm new at all this, and I'm still doing my own research and study. But I know I used to hear about like, yeah, you don't want to go over to so and so's house. Don't be just eating anybody's food because you don't know if she put her menstruation in there.
Yeah.
And it's like that's something that we have been doing for centuries because it has a power to it, and it has so even in this space where it's like, for women, like, we've been taught like it's so gross to have sex during your period, and it's like I'm not a big fan. Like, I don't want to, like, I'm not looking for the whole I'm completely covered in blood experience.
Right.
But there is something to be said that when you're in that cycle of your time, and it's like you engage in that activity, you are that. It's like Dr. Wayne Dyer calls honey ambrosia because it's in the bees. It's like this amazing this elixir, and it's like our menstruation is ambrosia.
Yeah, and that's when we're like, I feel like that's when we're at our most sensitive element. So like the power of our creation can happen, but it kind of keeps us off balance because that's our most emotional level too. So it's like you
Right,
have
because
to
we haven't been
remember
taught properly how to walk through that.
Yeah.
Right. It is the nectar of the gods. And it's funny because it's like it's kind of like it's like the full moon being like, no, I'm too bright. Don't look at me.
Right.
Clouds, clouds, clouds. I can't handle it. Because we haven't been taught. We haven't been taught how to. Okay. Everything is welling up inside of me. This energy is increasing, and it's glowing, and something is happening, and all of a sudden now I don't know how to handle this.
Yeah.
And so I lash out, leave me alone, versus, no, honey, I need you to sit down, burn some sage, light some candles, go take a hot shower, go lay on the floor, breathe, just allow yourself this space of peace. Journal, allow these things to flow out, cry, feel the
Right.
things that are
Like
coming
really
to
let
you.
it come through, because
This is
comes
divine
when the moon is
deposit.
full. That's the time that we're supposed to really do whatever our bodies say we need to do at that time. Like,
And that is our full moon.
yeah.
That is our full moon. And so and we go through these different cycles. Like, just think about it. When there is, like, when the moon is the opposite of a full moon and there's no light in the sky at all, that's when we have absolutely no discharge.
Right.
Right? And then we go through these little things, and it's like, but we don't understand that this is like, that this energy is the orgasmic energy, is pulsing all of this. We've been conditioned to think that orgasmic is this like, ah, ah. And it's like, yeah, that's like, again, that's the little piece of food on the toothpick. I keep saying a Q-tip, but toothpick. And it's like we're missing out on what it is. Like, right now, I can think about somebody. I will just walk through the cycle. I'm thinking about somebody. And, like, you're sitting up, and it's like this person, the thought comes in. Now the feeling comes in. Now my imagination starts playing in. And that is my space with God.
Yeah.
In the spirit, in the in these spaces. And it's like, okay, so now I'm dancing with God with this thought, this feeling. Now the more I think about it, now I'm feeling something. Now I'm like I can walk myself through this whole thing with this person in mind. And now it's like I can imagine him touching me. I can imagine how he feels. I can imagine how he smells. I can imagine. And it's like my thoughts are growing. My feelings are growing. My imagination, the video that's playing is growing. Everything is growing and growing and growing. And I can be like, yeah. Now, if I take that man's space out and I take my business idea and I replace it.
Right.
And I take my business idea and I take my child.
Yes. You just keep moving it.
And then all of a sudden, I take my personal body.
Yes.
And I put it in my spot. And I take my this. And I take this. And I take this. And it's like, oh my gosh. Now I'm using that energy to dance with God within. And I'm giving it everything powerful that is. And a limitless experience has come in. But then all of a sudden, doubt, fear, shame, oh my gosh, and I've lost it. And it's like, what is this? I'm no longer I'm not breathing properly anymore. I have these visions, and now I'm in a different type of breathing, and now I'm in a different type of orgasmic energy, and one that is toxic and is just as powerful.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've been feeding it the whole time. Sorry, I'm just messing up my head. I did actually hit myself in the head.
Okay.
That's what happens. Like, we derail ourselves because it's like, he didn't call. Why isn't he calling? He must not like me. This isn't real. I don't know. I can't. This isn't happening. You know what? What am I doing? I know this isn't going to work out. It never works out. Now I'm in this other space. Oh, my son, like, oh, he won't keep his room clean. He won't do this. It's like, I'm failing as a mother. I'm now breathing from the worst spot possible. And I'm now disconnecting from everything that is powerful. And now when I'm in my full moon, I am toxic, I am tragic, I am chaotic, and I'm not in the mastery of this. Now I'm easily feasted on, and things keep coming to me, and the energy changes, and I know you feel the change.
Yeah.
Versus like, I know it's immediate, but you can feel the change because I just thought about my happy thought.
Yeah.
And the minute I feel and I think about that person, I get into the space. Like I can't help it. I cannot help it. Like it is not because I have placed this thought in a space of value,
Yeah.
in a space of honor,
Yeah.
and I love it and I cherish it. So I'm now feasting off of that. And I'm now creating off of that. And when I'm in this space, the doors open, the experiences happen, and I then now can deal with the fact that I don't trust. Why I won't have an orgasm with somebody is because I don't trust.
Yeah.
And it's not just I don't trust you because you did not show up properly or because of this, that, and the third. I don't trust me. I don't trust me. Because how do I trust somebody that's not valuable? It's not worthy. It's not properly aligned. How do I do that? Like it's me. So then when I recognize that this is God dancing in me, that the vessel of me doesn't want to trust the spirit of me,
Mm.
which in that will not allow me to have the true expansion of being in that orgasmic state freely without interruption.
Right. That part. Yeah.
That. So, and we have a question. Have any of you heard of beaver sleeping during menstruation? Um, I'm assuming that's some kind of like steaming or some kind of heating up. I have not heard of it. I know I get fevers when I sleep because my body is constantly pushing out toxins and pushing out things that so that when I wake, I have my chaos managed. And that's the other thing. We're not supposed to get away from chaos. Chaos is not a bad thing. Chaos is a beautiful thing when we learn to manage it. That's what alchemy is about. That's what
Yeah.
this whole thing is learning how to like the contractions come, that is chaotic energy within us. And we have these cramps and whatnot. That's chaotic energy. And when we do our breathing from our 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 diaphragm and from within us, then we learn how to manage chaos. Then we learn how to be able to manage ourselves. And I love this word, manipulate. It's such a beautiful word. When I manipulate something, it's based out of love and light. And I love manipulating. I love it. I love being a master manipulator because I know it's for the greater good. I know I'm not manipulating for my own self gratification at the cost of another person, as those individuals that are harvesting little girls or little children to
Right.
feast off of them. That's
Right.
a toxic manipulation. I'm talking about a spiritual manipulation with knowledge. And we have to stop allowing these words to trap us from our higher self.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
that's
would
kind of.
say, as far as like my PMS, so some of you know, like with my thyroid and stuff, I will experience some feverish. And it always ties in with a vision though, because that is when I'm at like my highest element, and it's only happened maybe twice within what I've experienced. Um, and I think the last time I experienced it, I knew a shift was coming, and that's when all the riots and stuff was happening. I was like, oh, well, that makes, perfect sense. But I also, like I agree with what you're saying as far as manipulating it, but sometimes I feel like when I practice the spiritual stuff, I manipulated it so much where I became more naive to where chaos was more common. And I had to tell myself troublesome situations and, you know, like all that is not common. So I definitely had to, you know, be mindful of, I always ask myself before I go into my mind to alter it to be more, you know, at my higher self, why do I have to do that in the first place?
Mhm.
Start looking around and really identifying, are you putting yourself somewhere where you shouldn't be? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or is it you? Are you having a
Right.
flashback? Do you need to go take care of yourself? Or are you
Right.
somewhere
Right.
where it's really not a healthy space for you? So I do it. And then I also ask myself, why? And if it has to do with something outside of me, then it's like, okay, I have to make a decision from there.
Right. And that's important. The deep dive is important, and it's hugely important to ask yourself what your intentions are.
Yeah.
And like knowing that there is a side of us that is pain, that is guilt, that is fear. And it's part of the balance of who we are.
Yeah.
Like there is something. I do feel sadness.
Yeah.
I do hurt. I do cry. I like my moon does go into darkness.
Yeah.
But the thing is that going into darkness does not mean that you eliminate the light and you have to stay there. It's the
Right.
awareness of saying, you know what? Right now, like oh my gosh, I have such a beautiful, beautiful person in my life that when things they like to just interrupt me when I'm saying something and like overtalk me. But it's like, so what? So what, you're getting frustrated now? You're getting frustrated? Are you going to get frustrated? Are you going to get frustrated? And it's like, I'm getting frustrated because that it's like, I want this to be heard because I want to be understood. And it's like, why though? Why? Why do you need me to understand you? Why do you want me to take the time to hear you? And it's like, Michelle, why do you? Okay, like right now, this is frustrating me because this takes me back to when I was little and the people that I thought were important didn't hear me,
Mm-hmm.
then made decisions for me and decided who I was off of information that wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with those consequences. And why is it important for you to hear me? Is because I value you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm being vulnerable with you, and I don't want to be vulnerable with somebody that is not going to be honoring of my space.
Right.
Oh, I get it. Okay, well, go ahead and tell me what you have to say. But they'll do that not for the purpose of they're trying to push me, right? Because they're being a jerk. The person is doing that because they feel my energy, they know it's coming, and they're able to say, listen, okay, stop, because you're now carrying something that has nothing to do with me. And I can feel it. And so you need to take a minute to do this deep dive to reattach. Why, where? Oh, okay. Little me. Oh, married me. Oh, single me. Oh,
That's
junior
when
high me.
relationships, I feel like now for me is so important now. It's like when we can really sit with each other at those times and really identify those moments, because when we start to push our projections and expectations as far as how we want to be treated, rather than sitting and coming to a mutual understanding of knowing how we want to treat each other, what type of spaces that we're in, and actually being present when we're, you know, maybe we're not going through something, maybe we're having a really great time, well then let's do
Right.
that. But then if something stirs up, let's be able to sit down and actually figure out,
Yeah.
what this, because it's not really us, it's the situation, it's whatever happened.
Now, and there is times with that where it's like there is also the situation. Like, don't tell me to be quiet
Right.
when I'm talking.
Right.
Don't try to silence me. Don't try to put my light out.
Right.
But in that, okay, so here, this moment right here with you right now, this doesn't fly with me. Do not treat me like this.
Right.
Now, with that, you have to go to the place of, why do I keep inviting these type of people in my life?
Right. What is
I'm
making me
inviting this
feel
person
like
in.
this is what I need? Like this is
Right,
what I
and or this is what is normal And until I say, no,
Yeah.
like this is my expectation of how I expect to be handled, how I expect to be treated, I'm not going to experience that until I say, this is what I demand for myself.
Yeah.
So it goes back to everything. It's the same thing. Like if I'm sitting and I'm just letting somebody do whatever to me intimately, and the only thing I say is stay off my asshole. That is a no-go. Right? And then everything else is like, oh, okay. And it's like, well, no, I mean, that doesn't feel like anything, but I don't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, they're really doing something. And they really think they're doing something. I'm sitting there like, that was a really great episode of, like I'm not being present. Like I'm not using my voice. I'm not showing up in the same way of conversation because I'm not like I shared something with one of my with a person, and during our time together they stopped and were like, is this happening? Are you doing this? And I was like okay, I'm not, but I'm glad you're paying attention. And it's like it brought us back to this space of like, okay, we're hilarious. This is funny. Like, it's not it took the fairy tale away and brought it back to why we're even together, why we're spending time, right? Because it's got to look like this. It's got to sound like this. It's got to be like this. It doesn't have to be. It can be like, you can bust out laughing and be like, oh my gosh, I really think you're hilarious when you make this face, or when you do this, or when you do that. Like, I don't know what you're doing right now, but that's really not doing anything for me. I think if you were to do this over here, and you were to do this, like, oh my gosh, we have to give ourselves permission. We have to give ourselves permission to trust.
And communicate and understand that it's coming from, a constructive place. It's not, I'm saying this to make you feel bad. It's just like, this is the part of me that I like to experience within myself that feels good, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because, I mean, I've had those conversations being brought up to me, and me having those conversations with other people. And I had to be mindful of, how I said it and things like that. But, yeah, I think it goes all with confidence too. It's like we're in this space as confident people, and we're just trying to like.
And if you're with somebody that you feel uncomfortable saying something to, then you've let somebody in your vehicle that you shouldn't be giving a ride to.
Right.
Like, I think that's so important to always go back to, why did you give them permission to be here?
Right.
Because if you can't, like, if you're uncomfortable saying something, then it's like, then either you're getting in a vehicle that you don't belong, or you're allowing somebody to get in the vehicle that. And it's like creating that space of everybody feels vulnerable, everybody feels judged. Nobody wants to feel like, everybody wants to show up as like this. I'm a love machine. Look at me. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't really work. Love machines are created through mind sex and through spiritual sex and through physical sex, being imbalanced.
Yeah.
And have an honesty. There's a lot of things going on right now where people are talking about like entanglements and whatnot. And it's like, the reality is like, I make this promise to everybody. I always promise to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, because this is the thing. If what I'm doing doesn't fit with you, then we just need to be friends. Or we need to go our different ways, because not being authentic with each other is the worst thing we could do for each other.
Right. It's like we expect it, but then when it shows up, we feel some type of way, because like you had your own idea of how you wanted me to be present here. And that's the part, like, we have to really understand, do you really want what you're asking for? Do you really want that authentic stuff? Because it's like, I don't know, I feel like
it's real work.
I show up as me, physically. That's why I stopped, doing my makeup and my hair and stuff. Because I want y'all to see me for who I am. I figured out this whole new version of me
And you're
that's so
gorgeous,
cool
by the
and
way.
dope. Thank you. It is like, I'm so cool and dope within all these other areas past my appearance. Can you see
Right.
those first before you start to, because you're already forming these ideas in your head about who I am based off of how I look, because social media has told you that a woman that looks like me want these type of things and love
Right.
these. It's like, no, I don't. And
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So I understand that. But also with me, it's like when I approach men, like I saw this guy say that dating, like most people date to marry. And then other people was like, no. I was like, well, dang, I thought in my mind, everybody was dating to marry. But I don't have those conversations. If I can have those conversations in the beginning, that would help me out all the way through.
Right.
Do you
And
date to marry or do you
are
date for
you
fun?
open to a relationship with somebody? Are you able to do, I've had those, I mean, I let people tell me where they are. And then like, okay, so the minute that changes for you, you need to let me know because I'm operating off of this belief system over here. And that may not be your all-time absolute, right? It may be that it's like, I need something right now. Well, here's the thing. If I need something right now, I'm going to speak on it because
Yep.
I understand that number one, this is a solo journey. And I had a friend that kept saying that to me and I was like, no, but you can do it. You can do it with a partner and you can do this. But at the end of the day, the only person that shuts your eyes is you.
Yep.
The only person that wakes up in your body is you. So that part is solo. You have to be authentic to yourself and follow who you are and show up as you are. And like, I let people know in front, look, I'm a lot. I'm a lot. I'm a thinker. I'm not your everyday. I don't know how to do the simple little, I'm not a tender person, not that there's anything wrong with tender, but I can't allow somebody that I don't know and that I'm not deeply connected with to even see this. And it's funny because I tell people, it's like, yo, your ass, your ass. It's like, if you love my ass, that's crazy because it's my worst asset. What you mean that's your worst asset?
And it's
My
so annoying
ass
because it's like you're so
is
much
my worst
deeper than
asset.
that. Like you're so much better than your physical. It's like, oh, we have
Right.
to really, we're on the
But
surface
that's,
level.
if you can't understand that that part of me is my worst asset, then what do we need to talk about? Why would you get in my car?
Right. So that's the part with orgasmic living, I would say, from my experience, would be like communication, asking more questions. I know I'm an air sign, so I do try to be more ground level and really look at them for who they are, not for who I think they could be. So, like the potential,
Right.
I have to cut that out. I can't have a
Potential
potential
and
friend,
expectations are like,
a
right.
potential job, what it could be. I
Right.
can't do any more of that. Yeah, definitely asking more questions and really getting the idea as far as what they could bring to the table before entering into my vehicle. Before we go on
Right.
this road trip, let me know a little bit about you and let them
Right.
know a little bit about me because I mean, I talk to people and it's like my environment that I grew up in, it just doesn't seem, it's not normal. And I didn't know that. So going through my experience and being who I am now, it's like I can tell people still think that my experience shouldn't really mold who I am now. It's like it's still a part of me. Like the way that I talk the way that I grind a certain way. Like, my motivation stems from
Right. Your person has been established through experiences, but your soul doesn't have to get lost in it.
right. It's like I'm not gonna be this whole redefined person, but it's like don't question, how I can just get up and want to start my business automatically because that's the energy that my Midwest we have that. Like that's where it comes from, you know. So that part of orgasmic living is what I'm more so trying to move forward with my life is okay, instead of me trying to fit into these social groups of how I should be and think, how about I just show up as me and whatever comes, I can start asking questions too to see how perceptive they are to like who I am now as
Right.
well.
See, and we have a question here, and I think it's really important to address the darkness. Um, I definitely am. I can clearly say I am love and light. But I can also attest to the fact that I have depression and I have sadness. And I deal with guilt and fear and all these things that have been a part of my experience growing up. They don't just disappear. And it is a journey. It is a thing. First things first, being aware that you don't trust yourself. That's one of the issues, is your disconnect to something is a huge part of the journey to trusting yourself. Yeah. And being in that space where it's like, oh, okay, I see this now. I see that this is powerful, because I went probably about a year and a half to 2 years in a silent depression that I was hiding from myself, because I was trying to be okay, right? And it's like, in that, where it's like, I don't like some of the things that are going on with my body. I don't like what's happening with my financial situation, my love life, these different things. And it's like, I'm gonna rise above it. I'm gonna rise above it. But it's like, there's a point within me where I had to I look back and it's like, my everything took a break and was just like, click. But I didn't always honor that. I didn't always honor the fact that it's like, there are times where you will be still and quiet and things just seem bleak. That does not mean that in those moments you have to feed them, right, nor that you have to give them power.
Right.
Because right then and there, I had an experience. I got laid off in 2018, 2017, 2018. I don't know. I got laid off. It triggered all my regret, or not my regret, my rejection. And it's like, I didn't realize, every moment of my life where I felt rejected came and swooped in, and I was just like, because at the same time, I was having this really crazy, rampant spiritual experience of recognizing that it's time for me to step out on faith.
Yeah.
But it's like two things are blowing up at the same time. And I had an experience where I was down visiting a friend for a birthday and was with another friend. We were driving, and a man stepped in front of my car while I was driving. And full 40 miles an hour, he stepped in front of my car, hit the hood, hit the windshield, flew off, and this man's body imprint is in my car now. Wow. And went around, and we protected him by putting my car in front of him. My girlfriend and I dealt with the situation, dealt with the police, and I didn't sleep very well that night. And I drove back home with my grandmother, talking me through it. Now, the thing about that is that it was in 2018. In 2018, I'm driving back from Tucson to Phoenix here in Arizona from that experience. My grandmother and I are having this conversation, and it's just like, I'm finding peace in this. But my grandmother passed away in 2004. Okay. So there was something for her to be in the seat with me. Yeah. But it's like she showed up, or the spirit showed up in her form, because I could receive it in that way. And I got home, and I was able to do these things. And it took me on this journey of all the different facets of my life. How is this supposed to open up all these different facets? The first time this happened was when I had a twin miscarriage in 2005. And I say it was the moment that my twins came to open up Pandora's box. And everything erupted inside of me, to the point where I was just like, I could not talk to people normally for probably about a year and a half. I had no tolerance for people that were doing things that I thought were stupid. Yeah. So it's like, if you're doing something stupid, I was just like, you're a dumbass. Leave me alone. I have no, and it's like, who is this person? Like, this is not her. She's never like this. But it was like, I had no tolerance. So my niceness disappeared. And there were a lot of people that were like, I don't know who you're becoming. It's like, no, what it is I'm no longer who you can use for your own manipulations and for your own benefits. I'm now me, and you've never known this person because you've never taken the time. And I've never shown you. So
for giving you the time. I talked about this in the video. I promise you. It's
confirmation. So I mean, that's the thing. It's like these things happen, and in the moment, it feels like my world is crashing down. The pandemic. I have my book that I have these available, but they have errors in them. So I'm correcting them to make a book that doesn't have the errors in them. But I have these as the first edition, right? Okay. I ordered these with the understanding that I was going to be doing some stuff with the Pooh Nanny Poets after their event, and I was going to sell my books. And then I had some different some events planned, we're speaking engagements, all these different things. And I got my books in on the 12th of March. I had booked everything out from March 20th until June. I had events taking place. I had been working so hard to finally get to this place. And on March 13th and March 14th, we got quarantined.
Yep.
So everything I did to finally put myself out to build community and building a group of people, like it completely, like the pipeline shut.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have all these books. I have absolutely no income because everything I put was, these things were paying me, and I was going to make money. And I was finally creating my own, I was finally stepping out as my own entrepreneur. And everybody's like, well, go virtual. It's like, well, I have like 300 or 400 people that follow me, and I don't have the following to go virtual because I was going out to build it.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. So that's a really easy space to get dark and start to be like, this is it. I just am in this space where it's just like everything's falling apart. This is now like everything, like I get to that point and then it falls apart. So do I believe that everything falls apart right before I get to that moment? Or do I step back and say, wow, I've been given the opportunity to dive deeper, to prepare better, and to open up avenues to communities that may otherwise not see me or know me.
Yeah.
You know, and then one thing happened after another. I got a grant for my business that kept me afloat for a few minutes. Then it's like unemployment all of a sudden came through, and it's like all these different people asking me to do these different things. You know, it's like, okay, I choose right now to feed the light, because the darkness that I've been experiencing is the result of this. Yeah. And I'm not going to continue to feed this so that I continue to have the results of this. So I don't know if she's still on, and is it Nia HT? Nia?
Yeah, she's still on.
So in regards to how do you trust yourself by staying right now, right in this moment, in this now moment, which is another great story. But this now moment is where I'm creating my experience for my path forward. Like if I'm in a darkness right now, this isn't about today. This is the results of yesterday. So I cannot focus on right now. I will not focus on right now experience, because I'm in tomorrow. I'm in creation. My now is in front of me. And I think that's hugely important. Like if using the example that it's like if I have a tomato in my hand and I throw it in front of me, and then as I walk forward, I'm getting tomato pieces all over me because I'm walking into this exploding tomato.
Yeah.
So if I sit here and I'm like, God, this tomato, and I keep throwing tomatoes, I'm going to keep experiencing the results of me throwing tomatoes in front of me. Versus I have this tomato and I clean it up and I'm like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna spray water. I'm gonna plant flowers. I'm gonna throw seeds, and I'm gonna do these things. And then all of a sudden, instead of it being like all this nonsense in front of me, now all of a sudden I'm walking through this path of newly blooming something. And then all of a sudden I see flowers, and it's like, where do these flowers come from? It's like everything is blooming, but we don't recognize that it's the unseen work. It's the work that we did that we reap.
Yeah.
The
It's the
experience.
gift for reaping.
So right, and it's hugely important to keep that mindset that right now I'm experiencing today. This right now is tomorrow's results.
Yeah.
So I choose to dance, and I choose to allow the understanding that this energy pulsing through me is everything. And it's the same energy that is pulsing through all things that I see and all things I encounter. I may encounter people from different entities, but I will not encounter people from different energies. Like there's only one energy. Now there's different entities feeding on that energy in different ways. Now that's a mind, be mindful.
Mm-hmm.
But I can murder you just as much as I can love you. I'm absolutely no different than the person that is out there saying Black folks don't have rights any more than that I'm different than the ones that are like, we do have rights.
Yeah.
There are similarities and differences and things that we can find ways to be separate and divide, but when we understand who we are, we know there's only oneness, and all those other things fall away.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, and then if you find those people that know how to, and if you figure out yourself how to turn on the fountain of youth, I mean, hey. For sure, for sure. So, I mean, yeah, it's the dark of the night. What is it? The night of the dark soul. Is that what it's called? It's really interesting. The whole idea that it's like, don't ignore it. There's a message in fear showing up. There's a message in anger showing up. There's a message, and it's not something that should be avoided. It's something that should be addressed head on and dealt with, because there's something there waiting for you when you walk through it. I don't do horror movies. And my friend I was talking about had me watch Doctor Sleep by it's like the continuation of The Shining. But what is his name? I'll think of his name in a minute. He makes all those horror flicks. Huh?
I don't watch horror movies either. We have a minute left too, just letting you know.
Okay, so I'll throw this out here real quick. In watching this, I watched it in 5-second increments also, because I turned it off when it became too much. But once I watched it, I was able to watch it back through and see the message and recognize that some of the things that I was holding as negative, I was creating that. And nothing is real. So it's like it's up to me to determine whether or not what I'm seeing in front of me is real or not. And so I say that to say, I'll end with this in a minute. If somebody needs support in terms of coaching, in terms of just whatever, hit me up on Thick Thigh Therapy. I'm available. And I look forward for us to connect and do more.
Yes, I love doing these. I love talking. I love your presence and, being honest about something like that. You say we kind of shy away or we don't we're miseducated about like our bodies. So I really appreciate you. I'll be talking to you in a few. I'm about to eat real quick, and I'm gonna get back with you as well. Okay.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
And
All
thank you,
right.
everybody who was here. We love you.
Peace.